Hey guys, I wanted to talk about a couple movies I've seen the last week. Cocaine Bear and Creed 3. Cocaine Bear is directed by Elizabeth Banks and is slightly based on a true story of a bear ingesting cocaine that was airdropped in a forest in 1985 in Tennessee by drug smugglers. However, it takes the crazy story of the bear ingesting cocaine and then takes it up to 11 by having the bear go on a killing rampage while on the drug. The insane premise and the fact that a couple actors from the great effects series The Americans, Kerry Russell and Margot Martindale, being in it intrigued me, and it's also one of the last films starring the late, great Ray Liotta. Russell plays a single mom named Sari who is supposed to go to a nursing job, but when her daughter Dee Dee, played by Brooklyn Prince, plays hooky from school and goes out to the forest with her friend Henry, played by Christian Convery, she goes out to look for them. Martindale plays a park ranger who Sari enlists the help of to find the kids, but they encounter the bear and have to fight for their life to survive and also find and bring the kids home. Meanwhile, there are two drug dealers, David, played by O'Shea Jackson, and Eddie, played by Alden Ehrenreich, who are sent to retrieve the cocaine in the forest by drug kingpin Sid White, played by Liotta. There are several other characters involved, including a young trio of gang members who have been a nuisance to the park ranger, and a cop on the trail of the cocaine, played by Isaiah Whitlock, with multiple storylines and threads converging while the bear attempts to ingest and gather as much of the coke as possible. This is a project produced by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, whose most successful projects include the Lego Movie, Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse, 21 and 22 Jump Street. While there were some good things in this film directed by Banks, overall this doesn't reach the heights of past Miller and Lord collaborations in my opinion, when it really leans into the ridiculousness of the bear terrorizing anyone in its way. The movie's hyper-violent and at the same time darkly funny. However, there were some lulls when trying to introduce all the characters and create banter between them. For a 95-minute movie, it did drag a bit in parts in both the beginning and the middle, though the absurd killing sprees by the bear and the hijinks involving the drug dealer pair and the gang members are a ton of fun that do make the wait at least somewhat worthwhile. Whenever the film tried to use flashbacks or provide any sort of background information, it just came off as super cheesy to me. And it's weird to say that when the movie has such a ridiculous premise, but the way it was shown just took me out of the movie on multiple occasions. Most of the performances are pretty good, with the standouts being Liotta, Whitlock as the cop, and Martindale and Russell from The Americans. But overall, I'd give this film like a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10, and on Letterboxd I have it as 3 out of 5. The next film I saw was Creed 3 at an early IMAX screening. And of the trilogy, this is the one that probably has the most Creed-centered storyline, with Sylvester Stallone not reprising Rocky Balboa. This may or may not have been due to a dispute over the rights of the character he has with Rocky producer Irwin Winkler, but as both star and director in this one, Michael B. Jordan was able to create a great third film in the franchise, even with Rocky Balboa's absence. Able to leave boxing on a high note as the undisputed champ, Adonis Creed is now living the retired life as a dad to his daughter, Amara, played by Mila Davis Kent, with his wife, Bianca Taylor, played again by Tessa Thompson, and they're communicating with their daughter, Amara, through ASL due to her hearing disability. While no longer in the ring competitively, Creed helps to train and promote fighters at Tony Little Duke Evers' gym. Evers is played again by Wood Harris. However, he comes across a figure of his past in Damian Anderson, played by Jonathan Majors, a childhood friend who was a talented amateur boxer who got into trouble protecting Adonis just as his own career was about to take off, and has instead spent the last 18 years in prison. Despite the extended period of time Damian has spent out of society and boxing training, he wants to get back into the ring and become the champion that Adonis has. Creed shows a willingness to help him, but the relationship falls apart when it becomes clear that Anderson is still resentful of how he feels Adonis abandoned him during his time in jail. And as Damien continues to rise in the boxing ranks, Creed's belief in himself and what he's built begins to deteriorate. Adonis is forced to confront his two toughest opponents, his past and a new rising fighter in Anderson. Michael B. Jordan said he was heavily influenced and inspired by anime for this movie, and while it takes a second to get used to, the way he shoots the boxing scenes really shows his love of that art form, and it also gets you into the psyche and point of view of the fighters with kind of like quick time and slow motion things to show, oh, this fighter has a weakness here, this fighter has something here, and it's a really cool use of it. Especially in IMAX, the fight scenes were shot specifically for IMAX. You get to see the athletic perspective of kind of being in the zone, where the fighters shut out all outside noise and influences and are just fully engaged in the fight. But as great as those scenes are, along with a bunch of one-take shots throughout the film, it's the personal journey of Adonis that Jordan is able to take us on as both actor and director, with scenes involving emotion and exploration of vulnerability and communication. And those scenes are given ability to breathe, and the actors perform them incredibly well. And as his past comes back unexpectedly, it makes Adonis question whether he will succeed at being a father and his new life, and also whether he's even deserving of this newfound or growing celebrity and all the accolades. Damien's life is also examined, with Majors able to convey his initial quiet and unassuming persona, or seemingly unassuming persona, out of jail, but have that also turn into anger with a massive motivation, willingness to challenge all comers, including Creed both physically and personally and mentally. Majors is probably the best of the Creed villains in this trilogy, just because of his personal connection to Adonis and the fact that we get to see and know more of him in comparison to Drago's son in 2 and Ricky Conlan in the first Creed movie. And Majors really knocks this role out of the park. The supporting performances are great as well, with Thompson making Bianca someone who is able to challenge Adonis and make him come out of his emotional shell. And Wood Harris's Little Duke is able to be in Creed's corner the most he has in the trilogy, and he's always been a really great character actor. Felicia Rashad as Marianne Creed gets to shine a ton as well. The parental relationship with Adonis, Bianca, and their daughter Mara with ASL is done incredibly beautifully, and seeing them deal with this and eventually succeed with this is such a great payoff to how in Creed 2, how they established how it was something the pair of them were worried about dealing with. Despite it being a boxing film with great action scenes, the family dynamic parts in Creed 3 were maybe the most memorable portions of the film at times, although the action scenes are up there as well. Overall, I'm about an 8 out of 10 or 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd on Creed 3, as Michael B. Jordan really pulled off an incredible third installment in multiple areas. Thanks for listening. I can be found at Robin Leese on Letterboxd and at Rob the Movie Buff on Twitter. Thanks again.